Hello, my name is Erica. I'm a Canadian Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Victoria, British Columbia, and I welcome you to my YouTube channel. Today is Fun Fold Friday. I've been doing these for a number of months now, where every Friday, well, hopefully every Friday, I can bring you a Fun Fold card. I've been making cards for over 30 years, and after a while you kind of want something just a little bit different than a standard card layout. And so there are hundreds of different card layouts, and I just love the versatility in being able to change the layout. So this one is called the Diamond Fold. Now, finished, when it's all folded together, it is a 4x4 card. So quite a small card, and you would have to create your own envelope to fit this card. So if you happen to have the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board, and if you've been purchasing from Stampin' Up! For quite a number of years, then hopefully you have one of those. It's no longer available, unfortunately, but you can then create your own envelope. But I find that with this card, if I simply take a card base, just another piece of cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and put it inside the envelope, then I can slide this in. It just gives it a little bit more stability, and then you can send this in a regular A2 envelope. So that's my solution for that. So as you can see, this card opens up, and the really unique thing about it is that it stands up. So it stands up, so somebody could put it on their table, on their office desk, or on a mantle, and you get to have a, much like other cards stand up, but this one gives somebody a little bit of a different look. Now, a lot of other demonstrators have made this card, and they choose to decorate all of these inside pieces. I find that for beginner stampers or a casual stamper, that's a little bit more work than they want to do. So I've made mine so that you just have a little bit of designer series paper, and you've let the beauty of the color of the cardstock show through by not over decorating. Okay, so it's a little bit more simple to make. And so this was made with the Bird Ballad suite. That whole suite is retiring, but there are more birds coming in the new catalog, and the stamp set that goes with this is still available. But if you had the paper, or want to get the designer series paper pack that goes with the stamp set, now is the time to get it before the end of this month. So I'm changing it up, as I always do, and I've chosen to use the Floral Essence stamp set. Now this stamp set and coordinating punch, which creates a flower, this flower here, let me pull it down. This is retiring as a bundle, so it will no longer be 10% off, but you'll still be able to get the stamp set, and I believe the punch, but you better check on that, because that might be retiring. And certainly the designer series papers that went with this are also retiring. Very, very seldom do they carry over the designer series papers, because they come up with a whole new set of papers that coordinate with new stamp sets. So that's how that works. But you can, of course, use, anything that you have. Now, I've already done a little bit of prep for this card. I have already created my two DSP panels for these side pieces here. So I've already cut these. Now all of my cutting and scoring measurements will be on the blog post that goes with this, and there will be a link down below this video. And I have also created my scallop and a piece of white, Whisper White, for my design in the middle. So I've already pre-cut these. So this scallop square is from our Layering Squares framelets. I find for basic card making, if you want to get into die cutting, then you want to get all of our framelets. We have circles, we have ovals, and we have squares. And they are absolutely fabulous. And it really helps with your cutting so that you don't have to cut out all of the dimensions. it's a fast and easy way to create those elements. Okay, so let's start off with the scoring and the cutting. No, sorry, the scoring of this card, because there's quite a few score lines here. You're going to do some vertical score lines, and you are going to do some diagonal score lines. Now, I apologize for the gloves. It's May here in Victoria, and although it's a sunny day, it's always warmer outside than it is in my house. My husband turns the heat off quite early. And so if you're moving around a lot, you don't have an issue. But boy, oh boy, when I'm sort of in my craft room, I am sitting a little bit more often. And I do get cold. And my hands are cold. And they don't move that well when they're cold. So I'm trying to warm them up a little bit. I normally don't wear gloves, but today I'm finding my hands quite cold. So I am sorry about that. Anyway, okay, so what I'm going to do, this is the card base. I have decided to pick up the colors, of course, in the DSP. If you use designer series paper, you always, match your cardstock to the colors in the paper. And so this is our Old Olive. We have a lot of beautiful greens, but I think this one is a pretty standard green color for foliage. And I'm going to pull out my paper trimmer, because we're going to do all of our scoring on this tool, which is a fantastic tool. And I'm going to pull out my arm. All right, so we are going to, hopefully you can see this in here. Let's just move this punch to the side. A desk is never big enough, I'm afraid. All right, so let me get my directions to make sure I don't make any mistakes. Now, we have 2 blades on here, so make sure that you get the cutting blade, which is the darker gray blade. Get that out of the way. You don't want to accidentally cut your card. And the light gray is the scoring blade, okay? So we are going to do our first score at 2 inches. So this is where your ruler is along the top, and there's a bit of a lip here, so you always want to make sure your paper is butted up against that lip. So you're going to line up your paper at the 2-inch mark here, like that, and I'm going to do my first score. Now I like to go over it a couple of times. So 2 inches, then you're going to move down to 4 inches. And you're going to do another score, 2, 4, move over to 8, which is over on the arm on the left hand side. We're going to do 8 inches, and then the last one is at 10 inches. So move that over to 10 inches and do your last mark. Okay, now I'm going to pull this back and I'm going to line it up at 6 inches because I want to make a tick mark with a pencil. I'm just going to put this in the space here. I'm going to make a little tick mark at the top. Hopefully I can get that in there, and at the bottom. I don't think my pencil's sharp enough. Hang on. I can't get in there. A pencil mark. Well, I don't need the pencil mark. I mean the ruler. I can just go here. I want to make a little pencil mark at 6 inches here. Okay? All right. So the next thing you're going to do is you've got 2 outside score lines. So that's where our target is for creating our diagonal lines. Now, to make these easier to see, I want you to fold. Again, you always fold on the mountain. So I'm going to fold up my cardstock. I'm going to pull out my bone folder. Here it is. Pull out my bone folder, and I'm going to give this a little bit of a crease. So I'm going to fold all of these score lines. Like so. And I have one more to do here. So you're actually folding up the lines you created at 2, 4, 8, and 10 inches. Okay, all right. So now I'm going to, again, I'm going to score. Now, you got to find your little tick marks, okay? So what you're going to do is take that little tick mark at the 6 inches here. So the tick mark is down here, the 6-inch little tick mark, and then that very first outer score line is up here at the top in the track, and I'm going to score. Hold it tight. You don't want the paper to move. Okay, so I'm going to score like that. Then I'm going to rotate the paper and do the same thing on the opposite side. So again, line up the little tick mark at this, that 6-inch tick mark down here, and line up that outside score line at the top, so which is right here. Make sure you give it a good eye and make sure you've got that lined up. And again, hold down very tightly so that your paper doesn't move, and you're going to score again like so. Okay, now you're going to rotate your paper and do the opposite side. So again, the outside edge and then to that opposite tick mark, which is right here. So there's my little 6-inch tick mark, and there is my outer edge. So I'll always give it an extra little look-see to make sure I'm in line properly. Okay, hold it tight, and I'm going to score. And then we have one more to do. I'm going to rotate it to the other side. So now I have my outside score line, and then I'm going to my little 6-inch tick mark, which is here, right here. Okay, line that up like so. Okay, so this is what you get. You get a big X here and a big X here, and then you have this centerpiece, which is your center of your card, the decorated part of your card. Okay, so we don't need that scoreboard anymore. We can get rid of that. Okay, now what you want to do is you want to just, you know, gently score or fold, okay, and you're going to be popping this down. So I put my forefinger in here, and it should just automatically start folding for you. Okay, like this. You might just give it a bit of a squeeze with your fingers. You don't have to pull in the bone folder again. Just use your fingers, okay? And so you get a point, and then these should fold closed like that. You might want to, you know, sort of manipulate paper and force it a little bit like that. And now I may use my bone folder just to force those lines to be a little bit more closed. All right, and you're going to do the same on the other side. So just fold these up or down because you want to create that peak. Okay, so again, you're pushing that down like that. And like that. Okay, And then these are going to come up. So this is what, in the end, what it should look like. Okay. So you may want to, once you've got it closed, you may want to just press down, especially on those points, and get it to fold nicely. Like so. Whoops. There goes my little cable hook. Okay, so there is the base of your card. Isn't that cool? I think that's so cool. Now, if your pencil marks are showing, you may want to take a clean eraser and just get rid of those. Like so. Okay. So what I can do now is I can put on my outside panels. So I'm pulling in my silicone craft sheet and I'm pulling in my tape runner. And I'm going to run tape runner along those outside edges. And I'm going to, now your paper may have a direction, so be aware of that, that you're putting it on, you know, the right way. Now this is a very, very narrow border. Very narrow border. Okay, that's one side done. Now I'm going to do the other side. I'll make sure I orient my card the right way. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. All right, so now it's time to decorate the center panel. So I chose to pull out, this is a crushed curry, and I decided to do my scalloped piece in crushed curry. Now, keep in mind this is going to be a diamond shape, so you're going to do some stamping on here. So make sure you orient your Whisper White card the right way when you go to decorate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, I'm doing this on the fly, so I pulled out one of the flower images, some leaves from that stamp set. This is a little tiny centerpiece, and I may punch out a couple of leaves, and I'm going to do some type of a sentiment. We've got with friendly thoughts and best wishes today and every day. I may use that as a banner greeting across it. All right, so let's start, and I'm going to do this flower in Blushing Bride. So I'm going to stamp this here. Now, the silicone craft sheet is an excellent product to have in your basic supplies because glue will not stick to this, so it's great for all of your gluing purposes. And it acts a little bit as a sponge, which is great for these photopolymer stamps. It gives them a tiny bit of cushion because unlike our red rubber stamps that have cushion, these clear stamps, photopolymer, don't have any cushion. So you need to sort of stamp on a cushion. Okay, so let's take out the crushed curry and we'll put a little center in here. And I think I've pulled out the wrong little centerpiece. See, there's 3 flowers in here. This round one for this flower. And another round one. Yeah, I've got this flower, I think. Do I? Yes, so I need this bigger one. Is that the bigger one or the smaller one? Oh, it is the bigger one, so I think I'm good to go. Okay. It just looks smaller when it's on the block. Okay. Let's stamp that in the center. I like to do it a couple of times just to try and cover up that white in the middle there. There we go. Okay. And I think I will bring out my old olive ink pad, which is here. And I think I'll do a couple of these leaves on here. Just to fill in some background. Like so. So that is going to be mounted on that piece there. Now before I do that, I want to do a little bit of Wink of Stella, and I might do a little bit of coloring. So I'm going to pull in my Old Olive blends, and I'm going to start with the lighter color. Yeah, this is Old Olive. And I'm just going to color in these leaves. We have a variety of different coloring tools. We have, of course, our dye-based inks, a huge collection of colors that match all of our cardstock ribbons and embellishments. And we have these, we have watercolor pencils, we have aqua painters, we have blending tools, we have brayers, we have all sorts of coloring options for you. So even though you're not an artist, the tools that you have on hand will help you to look very much more like an artist, which is really why I joined Stampin' Up! Because when I first, well, I shouldn't say when I was first crafting, but I wanted to become a watercolor artist. Well, you know, the girl can't draw, for life depends on it. I took a few classes and I was really quite hopeless, and I wasn't enjoying the process, to be honest with you. And later on, many years later, I found out, well, watercoloring is, usually people start with watercoloring once they know they are a bit of an artist, because it's a very, very difficult medium to use for painting. Most people start with acrylics first. So that's probably why I didn't do well, because I just started with the wrong medium. Okay, now I'm going to pull in the darker. This is where the blending happens, and it's just so easy. You just have to follow certain lines on the stamped images that are already provided for you. So like the veins. And then I'm going to show you what happens. When you bring back the light color and you color over, you start to blend out the darker color into the lighter color. And so it gives you a little bit of shading. So here you go. I didn't have to mix up my watercolors to get that same effect. I mean, don't get me wrong, with Stampin' Up! Products, you can do a lot of very successful watercoloring. It's just that you're not actually having to, you know, create that image. You know, I thought a barn would be easy to draw out. Well, I think I am spatially challenged. So that was, I found difficult. But with pre-designed images that you just stamp, oh my gosh, it's just a wonderful experience. Okay, there you go. Now, we also have this wonderful pen called Wink of Stella. I'm on probably my 4th pen now since it was introduced. And it just adds a tiny, tiny bit of glimmer. And you can also watercolor with it because it picks up the color and it spreads it around. And it adds just the right amount of glimmer. Sort of like that morning dew that you see on your flowers. There we go. Always have scrap paper on hand or paper towel on hand because it picks up color. You want to just wipe it off a little bit. And then I'm going to add some Wink of Stella onto my actual flower here. It will just give it a little bit of dimension and add some visual interest. And this Wink of Stella, oh my god, it just really shows up well. Most people have, not fluorescent lighting, what's that other lighting? The stuff they put in jewelry stores. Oh my gosh. How easy it is to fall prey to buying diamonds in a jewelry store with the type of lights that they have. And so this Wink of Stella really pops in that type of light. It doesn't show up very well on camera. I don't know if you can see that. But it gives it just a little bit of sparkle. And it doesn't take long to dry at all. Okay, so I think I'm good with that. I'm just going to set that aside just to get that to dry a little bit. And now I'm going to create my greeting. Let's see, I need just a strip of Whisper White to create a greeting. I have lots of scraps in my scrap drawer right beside me. And I'm going to pull out that wishing you a blissful, no, I don't want wishing you a blissful future. That's for a wedding card. I don't really have a wedding card. I'm going to do this other one because this could be a birthday card. Okay. So I'm going to pull out our narrow acrylic block. Now, I always like to test these out. I'm going to do this in, let's see, black. And I'm going to make sure I stamp it the right way up. So with friendly thoughts and best wishes today and every day. The silicone mat does allow you to see through to your grid mat. So you can line this up with the grid mat and then you can see the lines, and then that really does help you with positioning your stamps. Now this strip of paper actually looks like it is cut not very straight. Let me just grab another piece. I'm just going to line that up like so. And I'm going to, let's see, see, that's very crooked. Okay, now usually we can turn over a Whisper White, but I've got some marks on there, so that piece didn't work out. Okay, let's try a more narrow piece. Let's see what success I have with that. If at first you don't succeed. I really do have to sort of get my head right over that to line that up. Okay, I think I've got success now. Ah, there we go. That is okay. All right. So I think I'm going to flag an end. So that's very, very easy with your paper snips. I'm just going to trim off a little bit here. And then to make a flagged edge, you kind of cut up the middle, and then you come in from each corner. Like that, and like that. Okay, and I might want to put these on. We have these very small Stampin' Dimensionals, they're called, and I'm just going to pull out what I like to refer to as my pokey tool, but it's called the Take Your Pick tool. And I will put on some of these to pop up my greeting. Like so. Okay, let me cover up my ink pad. Good practice to get into, covering up your ink pads. I've had some disasters by not doing that. Okay. Let's pull this to the side. Let's bring back our card. Okay, I am going to layer this now. Now, when you've been stamping on your silicone mat, you may have transferred a bit of ink on here, so I just like to flip it over because I don't want to get ink on here. So that's a good practice as well. And let's mount this on here. There we go. Okay. So you see, this card hasn't taken that much time at all. It's all about picking, you know, your stamp sets and your colors and everything else. So we're now going to glue that onto there. Oh, I feel my hands are warming up. Thank goodness. Okay. Lovely. Okay, so this is how my card is folding. This is how my card is looking. What do you think? I think that's coming together quite nicely. And then last of all, I will put on my greeting. So I need to get my pokey tool out again and pop off these backings. And I might just position that like that. Okay. And if you wanted to, you could add a few embellishments. I am a big fan of embellishments at the end of the card making process. I just like to pull out maybe a bit of pop. We could use gold. We've got a lot of different embellishments. I could pull out a few of these little gold pearls. Or we have these lovely pastel colored sequins as well. And so we have some really pale. Those are pretty too. We have a plain crystal gemstones as well. So we have quite a variety. And I like to pick these up with my scissors. These are already self-adhering. They've got a glue on the back. So I'm just going to close this. So I might put one here. And I might put one down here. And we'll do one last one maybe over here. So there's your card. And it stands up. So as I said, all of the dimensions will be over on my blog post. I post the blog the same time as the YouTube video. And so you can gather up your supplies and then pre-cut everything, and then you can follow along with me on the video. So thank you so much. If you enjoy my videos, you can subscribe, and if you click on the little bell, it will notify you when I do my next video. I also wanted to mention that if you are a Facebook user, I am doing weekly Facebook Lives over on my business page called From Me to You Paper Crafts. My blog is called From Me to You Papercrafts.blogspot.ca. If you live in Canada, I would more than welcome you to shop with me. That would be lovely. And you can also sign up for my email newsletter as well, so that you can find out what's going on in the world of crafting with Erica. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.